This should legitimately be a quick one today, but you guys know I like to talk, so I will get right into it, okay? So all you really need to do today is we've been talking about quadratic functions, and really what we want to start to do is talk about some of the other functions that we should kind of know from the year and how we can tell them apart from each other, okay? So the first step of doing that is just telling them apart from a graph, okay? So we know that we have the inputs that we put in and the outputs that we get out. Plug in x's, we get f of x's, okay? So the first one I want to look at are things that are linear. Okay, so things that are linear, as the name implies, make a straight line. Okay, so anything that's linear should look, I don't know, something like this. It should look like a straight line. Okay, it's nothing all that crazy. You only have two components, pretty much. Where does it start? In other words, just kind of keep our eyes on this y-intercept here. Pause it for a second. Pretty much, where does it start? And then the other thing we have as a component is how steep it is, okay? Those are the only two real things you can have for linear, okay? It can go up, it can go down. That's about it, okay? So what makes it linear, however, are the fact that you only have the four basic operations you can have, right? So if we take a look at our kind of parent idea here, we always said it was y equals mx plus b, or as if you guys know, f of x equals mx plus b. Well, all you have here is a multiplication, right? Which, if we multiply by a fraction, could also be division. So it's really just multiplication, division here. And then over here, it's plus b, okay? And we're just adding a number. But again, as you see here, we can also add a negative number, which is really subtracting. So what makes it linear is that it's what we call closed under the four basic operations. You have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, right? So you have a multiplication thing, we have an addition thing here, okay? It makes a straight line when you graph it, all right? The next one, which is the one we've been talking about in, great detail. I'll show you guys in both forms. We have standard form, right, which is the first one we work with, right? Now notice I have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So if you look right here, like we have been looking at, bx plus c, well, that's something, a multiplication thing here, right? But it could be by a fraction, so it could also be division. We have our addition or subtraction thing here, right? So those basic four components are still there, right? The only thing we're adding is this x squared, and what that has is that changes the shape of the graph, okay? It's no longer a straight line, now it's a curve. It actually changes directions. It's going down for part of the time, and it's going up for part of the time. And if you actually see, if I kind of back out a little bit, it gets steeper and steeper and steeper to the point that it's almost going up like a straight line, but it's not, okay, because it's not linear. Okay, and there was a couple different things we could change here. We could change how steep it was, right? It could be very, very steep, right? Or it could be, you know, negative, right? It could go down the other way, right? We could change where the vertex is located. So I'll click on the vertex here so you guys can see. We could change where the vertex is, right? We can move it around, right? And then same thing, we could also change where it's positioned up and down, right? And we looked at some of those changes. They were a little bit easier to do when we did it in vertex form, right? It was a little bit easier to tell kind of where it would be by changing h and k, right? So we had more than one form. In fact, we had more than one form for all, okay? But all we really need to know today is that if it has x squared on it, it's quadratic, right? It's a parabola, it's quadratic, and it makes this shape, okay? So anything you see with this shape is a quadratic, it is a parabola, okay? And the last one, which Desmos does not have a thing for, is going to be an exponential function, okay? And I guess I'll throw an absolute value once, even though it's not on your work, okay? Exponential function will look something like this. Okay, this is an exponential function. Okay, this is where, again, we can have all those other elements, but the big thing here is that your variable is the exponent, right? This isn't x to the second power. This is 2 to the x power. We talked about these a little bit earlier in the year. We'll probably come back to them just because it's been so long. But again, the difference here is that it never actually goes down, right? It's actually very close to 0. It looks almost flat, but it is getting higher, just a little, very, very, very close to it. So if we're going to zoom in here, you will see it is going up just by microscopic amounts. Is it going up? You have to zoom in really far to really see that it's going up there. So if we zoom in, I don't know, I think I might actually have to go to a spot a little bit further on the graph to show you. It's so microscopic how much it's going up by. Get a little bit closer over here. If we look real close, it is going up. It's just on a very, very, very slow rate. And all of a sudden, it just kind of explodes, right? Okay. And this is literally, you will hear people say, oh, it's growing exponentially. This is what it means, is that it's growing crazy fast. As soon as you hit the positive signs, because I mean, this is 10 right here. So all of a sudden you hit 10 and you're automatically you're way up there. Okay. That's 2 to the 10th power, right? At 10, we're already, into the thousands, I think. Okay, so exponentials tend to grow really, really fast. And we said there are some things we can do, right? It could also be, something like going down like that, right? And that's where things are going in kind of the opposite direction. But we can also do the same thing. If we add 1 to it, it'll go up 1. If we add 10 to it, it'll go up 10. If we subtract 50 from it, it'll go down 50. So again, all you really need to know today is how to identify the 3 of those, okay? And so just real quick from a little sketch pad thing. If it's linear, well, again, you guys should really know what linear looks like at this point. Linear, okay, is going to look like either a line going up, right? If it is quadratic, right, it's going to make what we call a parabola, right? And it could be, I'm going to draw a -1, okay, just because we're so used to the positive one, okay? And the last one, if it's exponential. Okay, and that should look something like this. It looks like something that's taking off, okay? Because all you guys got to do today, just identify those from a graph. It'll be a nice, simple, easy day. Okay, thanks.